Welcome to another episode of Half Court Trap. I'm your host, Big Mike, on the Big Mike and LittleAnt channel. And today we got a special guest. We want to do a one-on-one interview with Mr. Bryan Caver, former Seton Hall standout, local legend, extraordinaire, giving back to the community all the time. Cave, man, what's going on? How you doing?
Nothing, man. I appreciate you having me on, Mike. Man, you know I have a blast when I'm with you guys on your other stream, and this is awesome, man. I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with you, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. Just so y'all know, me and Cave go to the same barbershop. Shouts out to New You. Shouts
Yes,
out
sir.
to Jazz. And every time we're together, man, we get to talking basketball, and he had a great basketball mind. So I love picking his brain, stuff like that. So also,
Appreciate that.
I still owe you those turkey wings too, Cave. So I definitely owe you
Yes,
now.
you do. Yes, you do. You do owe me those turkey wings. Yes, you do.
After doing this, man. But let's take it all the way back, man, because you've been involved in playing or coaching or doing something with basketball for what, probably 40 years now, right? Almost your whole life.
At least 40 years. Yeah, about 40 years. Most of my life. My first love was baseball, though. Those who are really close to me know that was actually my first love.
Really?
So I really didn't play organized basketball until about 12 or 13 at a really competitive level. Maybe sixth grade, maybe fifth or sixth grade, I played my first, 14, but I was really focused on baseball at that time.
Did you play like Little League baseball? Or no?
Yeah, it was like Little League baseball, and which was huge in my neighborhood in the Trenton area at the time. Played for North Trenton Little League, All-Star. Got to Junior One. Played at Junior One in my seventh grade year, in junior high school. And then I lost my kidney at that. I lost one of my kidneys at 12, and they wanted me to wear this big brace, which I couldn't wear. It was just too heavy because I was a little frail little kid.
Right,
So
right.
My father and I, we asked, was there any sport that I could play where I didn't have to wear it?
Right.
And they said basketball, and I was like, really? I don't got to wear this brace? So I was like, okay, well, let's go. And it kind of took on, kind of a mind of its own from there on.
What position did you play in baseball?
Third base, and I pitched.
Really?
In the All-Star, I usually play center field or third base, pitched, or wherever. I was kind of multifaceted when it came to baseball. I always, a couple of my idols was Pete Rose, Dave Winfield, and Mookie, Ozzie Smith, players like that.
Could you hit or no? Or you want to get?
I could really hit. I could really hit the ball. I could really. It's kind of like the basketball.
Right.
I had, we were really taught really, really well. Our coaches in Little League were like, I can remember playing 9-year-old baseball and turning double plays, just understanding, pitch count and understanding, what pitches to take. We were really taught really well when we were young. So I really enjoyed. My father he watched baseball every day. He introduced me to it. So, I really love the sport. We played that all the time. So we actually played everything as a kid, but
Right.
that was the main sport in my neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah, I played Trenton Power, North Trenton too when I was coming up or whatever. So
Yeah.
a lot of hits.
Yeah.
It was good stuff. So do you think the baseball, let's say some of the hand-eye coordination translated to basketball in any way?
Absolutely. Just some of the discipline, being patient, understanding, you know what I mean? Those things are transferable, but it also gave me an opportunity, like I said, being coached, by certain guys, Homer in the Little League and Progressive Club, playing under Mike Anderson and them in the All-Stars in June, and playing with some older guys that were a little older than me. It gives you that discipline that's kind of transferable, learning how to be coachable and stuff like that. So it kind of helped when I made the transition from baseball to basketball.
All right. So that's kind of late for basketball. You said about middle school, sixth grade for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's late comparative to now. You get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
If we're talking about now, these kids are playing basketball at 5 and 6.
Right.
So that's late compared to them. But remember, so the time is different. And this is some of the things that we talk about when in the barbershop. Back then, I played outside all the time. So we went from sport to sport and season to season. So I didn't just play basketball. I played basketball outside more
Okay.
And I learned some attributes from playing with older guys, older kids. And then when I got to my early teens, I began to play with men. You get
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
Outside, at the
Outside.
park.
Yeah. At the parks. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Definitely.
you don't get that now in
No.
this era. They don't play outside. So
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Because when you're at the
I
park
was
back in the
still getting
day,
that.
when you're at the park, you're trying to get in the game. So even if it's men out there, you're
Right.
trying to get in.
You lose and you
Right.
don't play again for the rest of the night. You get what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's that dynamic because there's so many guys wanting to get on the court.
Yeah.
And I can remember before being able to play with those older guys, like between 11 and 13, I played in Marlene Neal's backyard every day.
Okay.
Like every day we played in the backyard. She had a court on the wall that we played on, but we really competed on that. So it kind of prepared us for getting ready to play when the big boys pick you up in that first game, and you can't call foul and stuff like that. But
Nah.
you're able to play with them in. Right.
Yeah.
So the dynamic is a little different. Now these kids are playing organized basketball, bitty basketball at 5 and 6.
Right.
Indoors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas at our age, we were playing outside on crates, monkey bars, or playing on the court before the men got on, or the older guys got on.
Crates on the basketball. I mean, on the telephone poles. I did all that.
On the telephone pole. Yeah. So those were like even with baseball, we would play strikeout. If it was just two of us, we would mark an X on the wall, put it in the box, take a tennis ball in the bat, and just play, strikeout. 1 out, 2 out, stuff like that. We had to be creative, but we were definitely working on the skill set just in the process of playing.
So when you finally did start playing, I guess organized, it was easy it was an easy transformation. Now, was it easy to play within the rules, or that was stuff you had to learn more? So once you got more organized.
Well, I think it was easy transition because, we played, even when we played pickup, when you play with older guys, they call certain things.
Yeah,
they call double dribble. You know what I mean? If you get fouled, you learn to play through some stuff because when you're younger and you're playing with older guys and men, you don't get to call foul. So a lot of those hits you just take, and we call it growing pains.
Right. Yeah.
They're bumping you. They're pushing
at the same time, though, street ball is mostly ISO ball, so it's harder for you to learn.
It's mostly ISO ball, so you work on
the
passing, your individual, being able to break guys down and get to spots that you can score at. Like I wasn't a great shooter as a kid, so I had to be able to handle the ball. When you're playing with older guys, you don't want to turn it over because that's what they say. So I developed my ball handling from that. Like I'm not gonna let the guy steal it. You get what I'm saying? So I'm gonna take care of the ball. So you learn different things, man, in just growing up and playing in different courts and playing with different people and playing with older guys and kids your age, and so you learn some different things. But now these kids have trainers at 6 years old.
I know, hired trainers. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
So when did you realize you were a little better than the other players? Like you might be a little higher level, stuff like that.
I can say going between my 7th grade and 8th grade year, I made like a huge leap skill wise. I don't know whether if sometimes it's the gifting, God's giving you some prowess, but I also think my understanding, I began to play with older guys, and that's the only guys I wanted to play with. It wasn't that I felt like because I still play with my friends that were my age. In Marlene's yard, I played. You get what I'm saying? I still played in Terrence Flowers' backyards. I still went up to the dog patch in Ewing and played on the monkey bars with my friends. But I don't think it was so much that I thought I was, I recognized I was better. I think the older guys picked me. Like, come on, Big, come on, little Cave, let's go play. I was little Cave at that time. My brother was Big Cave, so it was like, come on, that first, because I was already outside. So that first game that starts maybe around 4:30 when the sun, starts to get a little cooler, and the older guys come out. I began to become a part of that first 10. You get what I'm saying? With it's 9 older guys in me. You know what I'm saying? So you get what I mean? Like, and that's them like, come on, okay, we'll take Lil Cave. So they started having a little bit more confidence in me. So I began to play with them a little more. It wasn't that I felt like I was better than my friends or anything. I think I just had more opportunities to play with older guys at that time.
Okay, so playing with the older guys definitely helps you to become better overall.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
see a
yeah,
guy
yeah.
like Luca, they say he's been playing professionally since he was 14. You can see how it helped him become better already.
Well, it helps you maturity wise and physically because apparently those guys are much more physically endowed than you are. So
Right.
him playing, and that's how it was even when I played in Australia back in 98, 99.
Right.
Those they had like they groomed those young kids to be professional. Like
Okay.
they play with pros at 15 and 16 years old. So and they can play pro at that age. So they kind of groomed it. That was the difference between the European
Mm-hmm.
influence
Mm-hmm.
and the Americanized influence. So,
Okay, got you. So I know you told me your favorite baseball players. Who was your favorite basketball players growing up then?
Isaiah Thomas, without a doubt. Um, I was always a different kid from this area because I didn't like the Sixers, I didn't like the Celtics or the Knicks. I
Right, right.
always liked Detroit Pistons. You get what
Okay.
I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I go back as far as Dave Ben, but my favorite player was Isaiah Thomas. I watched him in college in Indiana. And I always wanted to emulate my game. I wore his number in high school. I wore his number so I always wanted to emulate him. So I didn't just watch him. I tried to take pieces of his game and put it into my
Ah.
game. Things that I saw him do, I would do it. Like I would literally try it. I would,
Okay.
when he scooped it under his arm and catch it and lay it in.
Yeah.
I did those things because he did it. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
I watched how he competed against Magic and Bird and Jordan. So back, and this is what we talk about defensive errors.
Mm-hmm.
We really emulated our, those guys that we idolized. We emulate, like I can remember writing Thomas on the back of my T-shirt with a marker and put
Wow.
number 11 and going to the courts thinking I was Isaiah Thomas. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
really emulated that. Yeah, we really took on their persona, and I think it helps you. And then once you get to a certain level, you begin to put your twist on how you play, incorporating that. So,
Got you. Got you. Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Zeke was a beast, man. Everybody know it.
Oh man,
I think he's
incredible.
underrated in the history of the
Oh, he
NBA.
doesn't get the credit he deserves because he gets the bad boy persona, and
Right.
the dude was just a gifted competitor, man, and he competed at the highest level. He's a Hall of Famer, but
Yeah, yeah.
he definitely was a huge influence uh,
In your game.
in my game. Mhm.
Okay. So when you get to high school, now you played in middle school, you get to high school, were you starting right away? Did you have to wait to get to like the
No, actually, I played varsity freshman because McCorston at the time was a phenomenal program. They had guys like Joe Posey, Noel Powell, who was, Miles Powell's father. He was
mm,
there. Rasheem Livingston, Cornell Nelson, Marcus Peterson, Octavius Mingo. Like I remember these guys because we were young and we wanted to play at that level. They were that good to us. You get what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't anything that was just given to me. And I think again, I always talk about eras because I'm so lucky to
Mm-hmm.
come up in the era that I came up in. And I call it, because we had to earn what we got. I think this era is more of an entitlement. Kids are good in eighth grade, so they expect to play right away as a freshman. We had to earn that because I wasn't better than a Gerald Posey or Noel Powell or even the guys on JV at the time. Torrance Hills, the um Batang Stroman. Those guys they were JV guys, but they were good. You get what I'm saying?
Right,
They
right,
were the
right,
best
right.
ninth graders, the best 10th graders. So I played freshman my entire freshman year, and the great thing is that team kind of stayed together. The Blitz Wootens and the George Carthens, Eric Evans, we all kind of stayed together. Kenny Veers,
Mhm.
we all kind of stayed together as we moved up. Um, so we competed together, even against when we got to JV, we got to compete against varsity as JV players. You get what I'm saying?
Right,
We
right.
had Mark Grass come in. So we kind of grew together. And then we got some pieces added on as we got older kids who transferred over, but we were there together. And so I developed. Um, I had a freakish 10th, 10th grade to ninth grade growth spurt, which was freaky because I wasn't that tall
Right,
at
right.
first. I wasn't a small kid, but at the same time, I was on the shorter side. And then
Okay.
I had a huge growth spurt in between my sophomore, the middle of my sophomore year and my junior years when I kind of really began to separate myself because I really wanted to play varsity and I wanted to get solid quality minutes. So that's when I began to train by myself, running by myself, and, ball handling drills every day.
Nice.
After practice, before practice, going out in the cold, dribbling in the cold and running and starting to kind of develop that inner drive. I really believe that middle of my sophomore year is when it kind of clicked for me.
So okay. So were you starting sophomore year or junior year? Or were you
My junior year, I was getting minutes. I started getting minutes the middle of my sophomore year from JV. So I played JV and varsity.
Okay.
And then I'll never forget it. It was a game against Notre Dame.
Okay.
We might have been going into like our 7th game of the varsity season. So I would play 2 quarters of JV, and then they would use me as they needed me in varsity. Back then, you could only play 5 quarters. I don't know what it is now, but he put me in. I think Mark Lamore, one of the guys that got hurt because somebody had got injured. And he said, "Come on, Bryan, get in." And I got in, and I kind of, I made an immediate impact. And then I started to feel the confidence and him having confidence, Coach Castaldo, and those older guys, Cornell Nelson, Marcus Peterson, Stan Lewis, Batane Stroman, those guys started to feel a little bit more comfortable with me being on the floor with them. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like the vet saying, giving you the okay. And then I started to notice me not being with the younger unit in practice, now with the older unit, that first unit, and I'm subbing in and out. So as that confidence began to build, I started to really compete and believe that I could compete with anybody at that time.
Okay.
On my team, and that it was fair game. Yeah. So
you come into your junior year knowing you're the starter.
Not knowing, but just believing that nobody's better than me.
Okay.
Nobody's better than me. I really felt after my sophomore year that, not boastfully, but to myself, I started to believe that I could be the best player on my team in my city. I didn't feel like no one was better than me. I played for one of I played for one of who's probably my friend for 35 years, Darryl Young, that year. In the summer league at Calvert Park, in the high school summer league. And he just gave me so much confidence in just putting the ball in my hand and letting me be that guy. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of carried. I had such a great off season. And at this time, I really wasn't playing AAU yet, but I was just making so many strides athletically. And then after my junior year, that's when, that going into my junior year, I really felt like this was going to be my team.
Okay. So you were at the 1 or the 2? You're at the 1.
I was always at the 1. I've never played. I only started to play off my position as I got older because of my skill set. But I've always been a point guard. I've never been anything else.
Isaiah Thomas, right? Isaiah Thomas.
I've always been, even when I began, because I worked on my ball handling and that point guard savviness. When I get to hit that growth spurt, it kind of took me to another level because people had never seen anybody my size be able to handle the ball and the quickness that I had. So it was kind of like an anomaly, like the Penny Hardaways, the Magics.
Yeah, you're a big guard.
Being a big guard, right? Being a big guard back then. Yeah.
So your junior year, is that when you started to really get some recognized, whether locally or by the state?
Yeah, locally, statewide.
Yeah.
And then also regionally, like people begin to take notice to, there's a kid in Trenton that can really play. Because I got an opportunity to go over to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and play a lot. And Kimball would take us over there, which is a local coach. Coach Kimball would take us over to Philadelphia, play in North Philly. And we, so I got a chance to go up North Jersey, New York, and, I started taking my game to different places.
Okay, gotcha. And now we go to your senior year, and obviously by then everybody knew your name. I'm sure by the time you was
I
in
mean, I had such after my junior year, I had such a phenomenal spring and summer. I went, spring playing AAU for the Demons. I didn't play for the Roadrunners, which was Luther Wright and them and Jerry Walker and all those St. Anthony's,
yeah,
that North Jersey. So I
right.
played for the Demons, which was Derek Johnson, Bliss Wooten played with me. Chris, we had Deion Jackson. We had a really great team, really competitive team. But I had such a phenomenal spring and summer. And when I went to Nike, I made such an impact at 5-star, with Garfinkel and Nike All-American Camp. I was fortunate enough to be invited there. And that's where I got some separation. And I got to compete on a national level. And once I got to compete on the national level, I got to see all those people you read about in Street and Smith, and I got to compete against those guys. And then I showed out. I really, I was always taught to be humble, but I really showed up at those times. I rose to those occasions against those quote unquote marquee names, your Kenny Andersons, your Bobby Hurleys, your Jimmy Jackson's. I mean, Penny Hardaway. He wasn't Penny at the time. He was called the Memphis Magician, Anthony Hardaway.
Okay.
So, Rodney Rogers, you name it, Grant Hill.
Yeah.
Travis Bass, Adrian Audrey, Brian Reeves, Malik Sealy. So I got to start to compete against guys on that caliber stage, and I performed at Jamal Mashburn.
Right.
Our class was pretty tough, and I got a chance to compete at that level, man. And the thing that I learned, which was a tough lesson because I was 16 at the time, is that you can't take your friends with you.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you get to a certain level, like, you asked me the question, when did I realize it? I think that was the moment that when I got that letter at the end, like in the spring of my junior year, being invited to Nike All-American at ABCD in Princeton, and every college coach in America is there. Every player that we read. See, we didn't have social media, so
right.
You looked at magazines and you saw Street and Smith, who was All-American, who was the top high school player here, and that. So I was going to be. I began to become a part of that list and that conversation. That's what kind of, when you finally realize, I'm a little different. I'm a little different, but it also showed me that I got to work because I'm a big fish in a little pond.
Right.
And then once you get on that national stage,
yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, so it just gave me an opportunity to kind of, one, humble myself and continue to work, but at the same time, realize that you have some ability and you're pretty good.
So were you more like a pure point guard, or were you like a scoring point guard?
No, I was actually a pure point guard. I mean, it's funny that you say that. This past weekend, there was a discussion on, and I'll send it to you on Facebook. A guy posted like the 90s all-state team. Like, I didn't realize that 17.5 assists and almost 6 steals a game. Like, that was crazy.
Wait, who had that?
Like, I think when you me, I averaged that as a senior.
Wow. Wow.
Like, you like looking at the numbers now, I'm saying, like, that's pretty good. Like
17.5 assists. That's crazy.
9.5 assists.
Oh, 9.5 assists. Oh, 17 to 9.
9.5 assists.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent.
5 steals. Like, come on, that's like, so that's phenomenal. So, but I guess when you're in it, and my wife says that to me now, like, you don't understand how good you were because you're you, and you're in. Like, when you're in it, you're not thinking about it. You're just kind of doing it. But as you get older, you get a chance to kind of look back on it and see it. Like, yo, I was pretty good. Like, what I mean?
Okay. So, spoiler alert, you wound up going to Seton Hall. But before that, was there anywhere else you wanted to go to, or did you get any other offers out there?
I actually committed to Syracuse verbally.
Oh, wow. The
Bayheim. I committed. I committed to them verbally. But this was before early signing period. So I took my, you take your 5 visits. So my top 5 was Kentucky, Seton Hall. Seton Hall wasn't in my top 5, honestly. It was Kentucky, Syracuse. Providence was out in front because of Rick Barnes and our relationship that we had developed at the time. Oh my God, who was the other one? There were two more. Man, it's been so long. I want to say, I know Kentucky because Rick Pitino was at Kentucky.
Yeah.
It might have been Wake Forest. I think it was
Okay.
Wake Forest.
Yeah, because Syracuse won a chip, what, 87, I think? Something like that?
Yeah, they had one in 87.
Yeah.
But I think Seton Hall was like 5 or 6 because, remember they had just went to the finals in 89.
Right.
They had went to the finals in 89. So,
right.
But Syracuse, I went on my visit. First weekend of opening visits, I went to Syracuse. Myself and Jamal Mashburn, we were there together.
Okay.
Derek Coleman and Stevie Thompson were our hosts. Dave Johnson, they were our hosts. And Billy Owens, they were our hosts that weekend. And I committed that weekend. And, because you can remember Derek Coleman was going number 1 at that time.
Right, yeah.
And Billy Owens was on the Sherman Douglas on that team. So Syracuse was huge at the time. So we had a great
Did you talk
weekend.
to Boeheim or no?
Yeah, I talked to Boeheim and everything.
Okay, gotcha.
And so we made a verbal commitment, and I had called my parents, but I took my other visits. I told them I would still take my other visits. And we wouldn't make any decision. We'd probably sign early, but so I had committed to them verbally. And then when I changed my mind, it was a big to do.
Well, how'd that happen? How you wound up at Seton Hall? You tell me.
Well, my brother and I, after all my visits, we had kind of had a conversation. My brother, myself, my mom, and my dad, and I was just kind of like, they were like, well, phone's still ringing off the hook. See, back then, they had your house number. We didn't have cell phones, Twitter, none of that.
Right,
so my mom, she would take the phone off the hook at certain because they would call all day and all night.
Right.
And so we just had a conversation, me and my brother. I think we were going to Hill Farms or something. And he was like, well, what's going on, B? What are you thinking? And I was like, yeah, I want to go to Syracuse, but I want to make sure that, Mom and Dad, y'all get to see me play too. And this is what happened. Luther Wright signed. Luther Wright had signed with Seton Hall.
Okay.
But he was a prop 48. And he was like, Jerry and Terry and them, they were like, man, you stay home, you get a chance to play with us. Because you got to remember, they were my rivals.
Right.
High school, St. Anthony's and Elizabeth, those are my rivals.
Yeah.
And the funny part is when you look at my all-state team, Seton Hall got 3 of the first team all-state players, myself, Luther Wright, and John Leahy. And then the previous year, they got 2 of the top first team all-state, Terry and Jerry Walker.
Okay.
So it was kind of like to stay home and let's rock together and let's win a national championship. So that's kind of what kind of turned it for me. Like, just staying home in Jersey, allowing my, my coaches, my teammates in high school, my family and friends are still able to see me.
Okay.
Play on a high level, and I still play in the Big East because I always wanted to play in the Big East.
Right. Okay. Either way. Okay.
Either
Syracuse.
way,
okay, gotcha.
because of just Pearl Washington, Mark Jackson, Georgetown, Patrick Ewing,
right.
Come on, man! Like you can't get any more Chris Mullin. You can't get any more like Bobby Martin, Brian Shorter from Pitt.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Eric Murdoch and all them dudes. Like these are dudes that I watched on television.
Right.
I always wanted to play in the Big East.
No matter what. Okay, I got you. Okay, so Syracuse was upset that you did.
Yeah, they were really upset. Because you got to remember, at that time, I would have been there with Conrad McCray, Billy Owens, Lawrence Moulton.
Right.
So you get what I'm saying? I would have been a point guard for them. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
And Adrian Audrey and I were good friends, and but we were also, that's that upper echelon of guards that I was competing with, at the time. So once he realized that I didn't, I was kind of looking somewhere else. He committed and went. You get what I'm saying?
Did you ever regret?
So that's how that went. We were paying attention to who was going where.
Okay.
We were paying attention to that,
Gotcha. Did you ever regret that decision or no? You was always go with your decision.
No, listen, even with the turbulence that I went through with playing under PJ and, his style of coaching, I never regret regretted going to Seton Hall because we won, bro. Like we didn't win a national championship, but we won. Like
you won.
We won the Big East twice. Like you know what I mean? I got Big East championships.
Yeah.
We beat. We went deep into the tournament. Like you get what I'm saying? Like
we'll get to that. Yeah, definitely. So
I got brothers like Jerry Walker, Terry the Head. Those are my brothers. Gordon Winchester. Those dudes are my brothers. Avon and those guys. Like they taught me a lot. They taught me a lot. So I don't regret it at all.
Got you. So you get to Seton Hall, and it seems like your high school almost mirrored your college because your first year there, you didn't really start, right? You didn't start a lot of games.
Nah. Oliver Taylor, man, this dude from Far Rockaway, man. Oliver Taylor, man. He was a JUCO transfer to Seton Hall, but he was a senior. Him and Anthony Avon were our two seniors, man. This dude was just super solid. I learned so much because you got to remember, man, and I'm thankful that I didn't get thrust into it because sometimes that's a gift and a curse. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was able to develop because again, this is a higher level than what I played at in high school. Right. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm playing with men who are getting ready to possibly go. Like these dudes were leaving college and going to the league and making millions.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's you just ain't jumping on them dudes. I mean, I was gifted enough to compete at that level as a freshman, and he used me as such. But I was thankful that I had opportunity to make mistakes, have someone who could say, listen, now you just got to slow down. Let this develop. Let's work through event. You know what I mean? Work your way, get you some layups to get yourself going. Get it on the defensive end, stuff like that. Having those conversations with older guys and watching their work ethic and watching how they have this workman-like attitude, But now it was definitely a blessing to be able to play behind, Darryl Chris and Oliver Taylor, who were, I played a lot of minutes.
Okay. Can you hear me, Cave? You good?
Yeah, I got you. Yep.
All right. So you go from that year, you play a lot of minutes, but you didn't start. Now your second year, you start 30 games. That's a lot of games, right?
That's a lot. Yeah.
For college, right? So, were you nervous knowing I'm gonna really be the starter now in my second year at Seton Hall, or were you ready? You think?
No, listen, this is crazy because it's kind of still that maturation process that I was always working, and I had a phenomenal summer. Like that summer, I got an opportunity to play junior national basketball. Okay. I went to Florida, and we tried out. There was probably 30 guys trying out for 12 spots to represent the United States, the 19 and under junior nationals. This is 91.
Yeah.
So again, you run into that Khalid Reeves, the New York guard from Christ the King at Arizona at the time. So I run it. He's there. Adrian Audrey's there. D. Brown from Florida is there. Jamal Faulkner's there. Cherokee Parks. Antonio Lang from Duke. Vin Baker is there. Big Ed Stokes, Brent Price. He's there. It's just crazy how I ran into that opportunity to compete. And Krzyzewski's picking the team. Lon Kruger, Pete Corral is there. These guys are selecting this team to represent the United States, man. And, it was a really great experience. I competed. I got an opportunity to start. I led that team in some statistical categories. I led that team to a gold medal. On an international stage. I began to get some NBA noticeability from Marty Blake and those scouts that attended those games. And so I was confident going into my sophomore year. I was confident. And then I also think that, again, that's a gift and a curse when certain things happen to you at that time. So, that's when I believe things kind of changed with PJ's approach with me. But I was definitely confident going into that sophomore year and ready to lead that team.
Yeah, so that's your second time speaking about Coach Carlissimo and his approach. So how would you describe it overall, his approach with coaching with you, I would say?
Well, I think that he had, he was a screamer, but nothing in the sense where you know, it was anything that was, racial or anything like that. People always allude to that because of the Spreewell situation.
Right.
That never happened. But I also think that he was a very demonstrative coach, and I don't think he was used to coaching a player with my kind of skill set. I'm just being honest.
Okay. All right.
An athletic point guard with the ability to score can create his own shot, and I can play. And I played with Flash. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I was able to play. And some people, he didn't take to that very well. And in high school, I was able to get up and down.
Right.
And he was kind of a control levy possession type of coach rather than allowing us to play off instincts. But which was weird about that, and which was somewhat confusing, if the shot clock's running down, he wants the ball in my hands because he knows I can create my own shot. You would hear him sometimes, get it, be and go, get it and go.
Right.
So I think that's just where that kind of, we kind of bumped heads. Not me being defiant, but just me not understanding clearly what it is he wanted. I was a pure point guard. I made sure I got everyone involved, but I didn't understand, one, because I was so young. If I threw a pass and someone dropped it, he would pull me out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of tough to do to any player. To play. It kind of kept me off balance.
Yeah.
So that's why I would digress, and then you'd see this phenomenal flash of this player with all this potential, and then I would digress. You know what I mean? What? Because I couldn't control it. You get what I'm saying? And I was kind of off balance. So I could talk about it and articulate it now, but back then I'm 19 years old.
Right.
I'm sitting here like, what the hell? Let me go. You know what I mean?
So, of course, he wound up going to the NBA as a coach. So, would you say he was overall a good coach, but certain things he could do better? Or what would you say?
Well, there's a lot of things he could have done better. I think we should have won a national championship. I think we had that kind of nucleus. We should have won a national championship. I can't put it all on him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think you have to get the optimum out of your players, and I don't think he maximized the optimum out of his players' skill set. I mean, it wasn't just me; it's other players as well.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And I think he had an opportunity to do something special, but I think he was also chasing his dream of making a leap as well. And sometimes, that can, be put at the forefront. And sometimes players' games and things suffer behind that. You get what I'm saying? So, I'm not bitter with him or anything like that. I think things could have been different. I think my career could have been different, but it is what it is. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and my experience because I could teach someone else. So that's really what it's about.
Yeah. So like you said, your senior year in high school, they go to they're runner up in the NCAA tournament. And then your freshman year, they go to the Elite Eight. You're not starting, but you're playing a lot of minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then your sophomore year, they go to the Sweet 16, right? And but they were the tourney all 4 years you were there, from what I was seeing.
Yeah, so I'm one of the only players, myself and Arturis Konishman, are the only players in the Seahawks history to go to 4 straight.
Got you. So what would you say was your best team that had the best chance to win the national championship?
I would say my junior year when we became the bracket busters that year. Although there were some tumultuous times in that my junior year, I lost my dad that year.
Okay.
And I got hurt that year. So I was coming off of a bad ankle injury. But we had we had depth, and we could truly defend at every position. And I just think that nucleus of guys, as well as I think we played really, really well my freshman year because we had great leadership in Oliver Taylor and Anthony Avon, and they just kind of set the stage. And we got in one of those brackets where we just chopped away at guys until we ran into the juggernaut UNLV. But we just chopped away at guys. But I think my junior year, we underachieved. I played horrible against Western Kentucky when they kicked us out. We were a number 2 seed, and they were like a 13 or 14. And I think we became the first bracket busters ever. But I still think that team should have went to the Final Four. That was the best. I think that was the best team that we had, that 92-93 team.
Okay. Oh, so y'all ran into the Rebels with
Oh
Augment and
my
Anthony.
yeah, but like listen to this. So our first game, let me see if I can remember, man. You dating me with this. Talking 1990 here. Our first team we played against, was Pepperdine.
Okay.
They had Doug Christie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Then we played against New Mexico State, I believe, the second round. We beat them. And then our Sweet 16 game was versus Arizona. What you talking about? Bison Dele,
Mm-hmm.
Brian Williams,
Mm-hmm.
Big Ed Stokes, Sean Rooks, Chris Mills was on that team.
Yeah.
Muhlenbach, and what was the other guy? Matt Offick was on that team. Muhlenbach, Khalid Reeves. Like that Arizona team was full of pros.
Yeah.
We beat them
Right.
to get to the final, to get to the Elite Eight.
Right.
Where we ran into Stacey Augman, Larry Johnson, Greg Anthony,
yeah.
Anderson Hunt.
Yeah.
Like that team was just.
Well, they got whole documentaries on that team. They were phenomenal. So
come on, man. That team was, and we played with them. You know, we went in at the half at 8. I think we lost by 14, I believe, or something like that. But that team was just, they went on to win it. They won it all.
They were fast. They were so fast. It was crazy.
But it wasn't just their speed, because we matched it. But I think that they were just men. Like they were just really that good.
Yeah.
Larry Johnson,
he was a man. He was a man already.
Stacey Augman was a man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Greg Anthony was probably one of the greatest college point guard leaders I've ever seen in college basketball. A dude was just, he was a pro, you know? And with Anderson Hunt, and then you had like Greg Ackles and all those complimentary players, man. Come on.
Right. Yeah. I see it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You were saying that the junior year was your best team, but your senior year was your best season, right? So
it was my best season, because I think a lot was because I think one, he kind of allowed me to open up and be who I was. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
He kind of allowed me to be who I was. Although we had a quick exit in the tournament, we weren't as talented, but we were still. You had seasoned guys on our team, like Adrian Griffin, who played for the Boston Celtics, now coaching for the Bulls. Arturas Karnisovas, he had played in the Olympics in '92 that I should have played in. We're gonna talk about that. But he got to play against the first Dream Team. So that guy, this kid was seasoned. He's a 4-year starter.
Oh, he was on the team. They went up against
Lithuania. They went against the Dream Team.
Gotcha. Yeah, Chris Webber was on.
Sabonis and those guys, right?
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
So and then even PJ coached with Chuck Daly. He was part of that coaching staff on the Dream Team.
Yeah.
No, but so you had John Leahy, Chris Davis, like I said, Adrian Griffin, T'Chaka Shit, Danny Hurley. So we were seniors,
Right.
But we had been through the fire, so we were battle tested. So that's why that team, we were able to rally and be able to make the tournament that year.
Okay, that's cool. Definitely. So your senior year, like your steals go up, your points go up, like you're really out there flourishing. Were you? Well, let me get to that a little later. So I was reading about a game we all played against Villanova where you held Kittles to 15 points, and you had 21 yourself. Kittles wound up being the 8th pick in the draft a couple years later, and he averaged I think like 20 a season for Nova and stuff like that. And I guess it was a rivalry game. But you said that going up against a NBA guy like that raises your level of awareness. You almost got to be perfect. So is that how you felt going up against guys like that?
Absolutely. I think, when you play against, like, come on, we're just being honest. We try not to read articles and things like that, but you know who's who. It's kind of like the bully in the school. Like, you know who that guy is. Like, it's not like you just like you can ignore that these guys are phenomenal athletes at your level. And because you're on that level, you have to set those goals within yourself and things to push you to raise your level. And I think it's a no-brainer when you get the assignment to have to cover somebody that it's not being paranoid. I call it just being hyper vigilant. Like,
Okay.
I know what this guy can do, and I got to take that away from him. I got to make it difficult for him, try to make it difficult for him every possession, because he's that good. He's that impactful. It wasn't that I shut him down. I just tried to be. I think he missed a few more shots than he would normally make. You get what I'm saying? I'm
Right.
not, because I don't think there's one thing that you can do to stop a guy like that. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I think you could be disruptive.
All
You
right.
know, I think you can be disruptive. I think that, you can make him uncomfortable sometimes, but guys like that adapt.
Yeah.
Did I hold him off long enough? Did I make him uncomfortable enough? That game I did. You get what I'm saying? So, but I was also able to put pressure on him at both ends too,
Correct.
because he
Yeah.
did the assignment as well. So
Right.
offensively, I was able, and I think that when you do that to guys like that, because they have their team relies on them so much. My team really didn't rely on me to score much.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? For us to win, but if I could put a little bit of pressure on him defensively, that may take a little steam out of his legs on the offensive end. That was just our mindset.
Well, apparently you had 21
Would I
points,
say
4
that
for
to
6
him?
3-point
Would I
shoot.
say that's what it was? No, I know it wasn't that, but I have to believe that.
Right. Now, so when those guys, like you say, you read the articles, you see them being, getting all this national praise. Do you think in your mind, like, I'm just as good as him? I want to show him that, or do you think
Absolutely.
like I know he's better, but
Absolutely.
I'm gonna try my best? Like, what's your mindset?
No, absolutely. Sometimes that gives you, it's okay to play with a chip. I'm
Okay.
not a dirty player, but I'm playing you with the intent to outplay you. You get what I'm saying? There was a period when I wasn't getting recruited in high school.
Okay.
You got that?
Right.
So my thing is, if you're coming into my gym,
right,
and coaches are here to see you, they're gonna have an opportunity to see me too. So if I'm guarding you,
right,
and I'm making it difficult for you because they're here to watch you, who do you think they're gonna see?
right.
So I adopted that, but that comes from just those playing. See, you kind of reach back and the playing against guys that. So the guys that I played against in the neighborhood weren't particularly big time Division I guys.
Right.
They were tough guys. They were tough dudes. Like, I always tell this funny story about this dude, Ellis Phelps, in my neighborhood. He was an older guy.
Mm-hmm.
He could hoop. He was old, but to me, he was just maybe 4 or 5 years older than me, 6 years older than me. But those dudes back then were him as a 19-year-old, me as a 13-year-old. That's a grown man to me.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Did he have ability to go play at any Division I? Probably.
Yeah.
But he made a decision to allow his life to take a different path. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't take away from his prowess and him making it tough for me and difficult for me, or me saying I want to outplay him. You get what I'm saying?
Definitely.
That's where that starts at. Jimmy Walker, who lived around the corner from me, but played at Trenton High.
Mm-hmm.
He may have taken a different path in life, but him in high school and being able to play with him every day in the park, I want to beat him today. I got this own thing going on in my brain that I'm gonna try to steal it from him today. I'm gonna outplay him today. This is what I tell kids that I train. You got to play the game within the game. So if I'm going against a Kerry Kittles, I don't have to boast in the newspaper like I'm gonna shut Kerry Kittles down or tell him that. I don't got to say that. But in my mind, I got to say when we going through scouting report in practice, and I'm guarding him.
Right.
I got a visual. See, remember how I talked about becoming Isaiah Thomas and playing? That's when that visualization comes in, and you got to kind of play the game. Prime example. What do you think? They showed Tom Brady before the Super Bowl, and he does this before every game. He comes hours before the game with his headphones on, and he just walks on the football field, up and down the football field around him. What do you think he's doing? He's visualizing plays that he can make, that he could possibly make, what that team may do. He's seeing it before it happens.
Got you.
So when you get in the game, when you start to really do those kind of things, the game slows down and you're playing at optimum level, but the game almost becomes slow motion. You see plays develop. So when I'm playing against Kittle, if I remember scout report what Bruce Hamburger told me, this kid likes to come off he's going to get a down screen, a back screen, and a double screen on the other side. If I know it's coming, don't give this way. Let's make him go off the single screen. That's less screen. That's less bodies you got to go through. You get what I'm saying? He doesn't like to or I tell my guy, you deny the point guard, let Kerry have to bring it up, and then I can guard him from the point guard position better because he has the ball. You get what I'm saying? So that's where that comes. So you start to play those games within the game, and I felt like, okay, you got NBA scouts looking at you, they should be looking at me. You know what I mean? So here's my opportunity.
Yeah. Well, it seems like for you, like you said, you weren't given anything. Like you worked, from high school to get to where you were at. Same thing in college and whatnot. So, I'm sure that work that you had to do helps you become, the player you became eventually. Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like I said, you had your best season as a senior. Your steals go up, your points go up, everything pretty much goes up. Do you start to see yourself possibly, maybe trying to get to the league or going overseas? Or what's your mindset at that time?
My mindset is really, trying to see if I can break through that ceiling. And I think that I have the attributes. I feel that I have the attributes to play at the pro level. And I think a lot of people felt that way, but they weren't sold because of that rocky relationship athletically I had with PJ. I was so up and down. I was so they weren't quite sold. They weren't sold. They knew this kid he's 6'5", he plays the point, he's athletic, he has speed, he can defend, he can shoot, he can get to the bucket, he can defend multiple positions. So I had the attributes.
Right.
But at that time it's about fit. It's about, sometimes it's about what coaches say. What do I know what if teams call what he would say? I don't know what he was saying.
That's true.
I've had experiences. Honestly, when I played in the CBA, after I was released from the Pacers, I had coaches say certain things like, yeah, well, they said certain things about you and I don't see it. They would never allude to what they heard, but they would just say, I don't see that in you. So you never know what a coach may say or what people may say. And, to put a bug in someone, that could deter this. And I'm not saying he did, but what I am saying is that influence is real. You get what I'm saying?
True. Yeah,
sure. That influence is real. It's real. Yeah. I would, like, even when I tell players that are getting ready to go to that pro level, I said it's going to be like no other experience you've ever had, because I've always been in the space, and my friend Greg Grant has the same testimony when it comes to that if I could beat you out, I deserve that position. But when you get to the pro level, sometimes it has nothing to do with ability. It has to do with contractually, can I get rid of this guy? Can I trade this guy? Is this guy under contract? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are so many other factors. Ticket sales. You're like, Damon, I should have been drafted 41 that year by Indiana. They were supposed to draft me 41 in that draft that year.
Second round.
They took that second round. They took Damon Bailey because the draft was in Indiana and everybody was booing. They were booing because no Indiana player was taken. This is the conversation that I got before the draft. 33 they call. Well, they're going to take, you're the guy they want. They're going to take, the crowd's getting antsy. They're going to take. So then I meet with Donnie Walsh and Billy Knight, Larry Brown, when they're releasing me from the Pacers, and they're saying, well, they made a decision to sign Damon Bailey. This dude never played a game with the Pacers. He had 2 surgeries on his knees. He never even came to camp.
Wow, that's crazy. So you wound up.
He was the biggest name in Indiana at the time.
Yeah.
So he's gonna sell tickets.
Right.
It's not about, you get what I'm saying? That's Damon Bailey.
Right.
And listen, no knock on Damon's a good dude, a cool dude. Like I was in camp with him. He's a good dude. But that's the business side that most young kids from the inner city have no clue about. And no one tells us about that. And then that becomes heartbreaking because it's like it takes the steam out of you because you're so taught to compete and outwork someone and do those things, and you do those things, and if something doesn't happen because of contracts and that's hard to swallow.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
it's hard to understand at 21 or
Yeah.
22 years old.
Yeah.
Like I've done this at the highest level for so long and trying to get to this level. I get here for it not to be about basketball.
So did that
You
kind
get
of
what I'm saying?
yeah, I can see what you're saying. So did that kind of like getting released by the Pacers, did that like a hard blow at the time? Like to
Yeah, it was a huge blow. And,
okay.
and it wasn't just that, just knowing and beginning to hear certain things. It became, I got an attitude because you work so hard to keep your nose clean and stay out of
Right.
trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond Green said it best the other day. And you know I can't stand that guy.
I know.
As an athlete. I love him as a person and what he stands for. I hate him as an athlete, but that's just my competitive. The dude he's a pro. Like he's a pro. I can't knock him for that. But he says something that made so much sense. You work so hard to keep your nose clean as a young kid in the city, staying away from drugs and the bad things, and you have to act a certain way and be a certain way. And then on the other side, they don't have to live to that standard. You get what I'm saying? They get to do what they choose to do. I get that they have the power, but they get to do that.
Yeah.
And that could be disheartening when you try to keep your nose clean and do things the right way for so long, and then for it to be kind of like a smack. It feels like a smack in the face for your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that later on, but yeah, I agree because I'm like looking at a guy like Andre Jones. He's 27 years old, and they treat him like
he's a kid.
Yeah, he a 38-year-old vet. Like
he's a kid.
Yeah, they said don't come back and play. We're trying to buy you. I'm like,
to tell him to go out there and listen. And you know what? Jazz made a great point the other day in the barbershop where he said, I can't tell someone how to run his business.
Right.
And I get it, but there has to be a level or a standard for both of us professionally wise or professionalism wise. Whereas you can have me run out. And if your thoughts is to trade me, that's fine. I get that. But if you have me go out and then pull me because there's a possible trade, make me change my clothes and sit me, one, that's embarrassing.
Right.
And I'm not saying he's the first guy.
Right, of course.
But two, are we thinking of the mindset and what you're doing to a player or a kid like that?
Yeah.
He's a man. Yeah. He's a mammoth of a man.
Right.
But he's still young.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I don't think, and then we just chalk it up to it being business. You get what I'm saying? Like,
because they treat him like he.
But you don't want them to say nothing. You don't want him to say nothing or feel any kind of way.
And I said,
and he can't say something, but he'll get fined.
Right.
And then he'll get a tag put on him for being not coachable or hard to work with.
And I said, they treat him like he an 18-year vet on his last legs. He's 27 years old. Like
the dude is at the apex of the dude is averaging a double-double.
Like 14 and 13 right now. Like,
this is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, so, and this is what I mean, man. I think we can't take the humanity out of sports. And I think sometimes we do that. And I've experienced it. I had interviews about the Latrell Sprewell and PJ thing. And I said I went through it for free. Is it fair that PJ was able to, whatever that difference was, should he have put his hands on him? Absolutely not. I get that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. When you first heard about it, because you weren't surprised when you first heard about it then.
I wasn't, because I know he can press buttons.
Okay.
I know that. The one thing that wasn't racial, I know it wasn't racial, but I know that PJ can get you to a place where he gets under your skin. I know that because that's just how he is. But what I will say is it's not fair that a coach can say this, say that, push you to a space. And the player, did Sprewell go too far? I think he didn't understand his power at the time, being the player that he was.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about he's young.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't understand that I can go to the front office. Listen, we got to do something. Like, we're not seeing eye to eye. I'm your marquee. I'm your guy. You know, I'm the coaches voted on the All-Star team guy.
Yeah,
You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't think he realized his power at the time because he was young.
Mm-hmm.
That where he can go to front office and have that conversation to kind of rectify something like that. But was it like they got to literally ostracize him and he lost $33 million that year?
Yeah, horrible.
Like you just stripped this dude of his life because he made a mistake.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
And you have planned for PJ. You probably could, like you said, see where he might have pushed his buttons and stuff like that.
I can see that because most coaches do that. They're going to push you. They're going to put, they call it, trying to, I guess, bring that
Toughen you
best
up.
out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, some people aren't built that way, and that's what I mean by you can't take the humanity out of out of the competitive sports because background, environment, all that makes up who you are. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we don't know what a person has experienced or whatever. And I'm not telling you to be soft on these guys, but you have to treat a person like a man. If he's a man, I should be able to talk to you like a man.
Right.
Still have that mutual respect where if I'm yelling at you or something, that it's genuinely from my heart that I want better for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
can
I
see
don't
that.
know if PJ had that kind of relationship. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and with college kids, it's like, listen, you're not gonna play if you don't, like take his stuff.
In college, you damned if you do. Like,
right.
So in college, you got to take it. We paying for your tuition. We food. Like they keep. I always get into it about people saying college players should get paid. Do you ever hear college players saying that?
Not really, no.
You only hear the people who are done with it, who are done with college,
right,
or know how much schools get. Because college players get a lot. There are a lot of benefits for being a scholarship athlete. I do understand that they get revenue, but the moment you begin to go into that, you take the amateurism out, and you can't do it. You just can't do it.
Yeah, great. So Indiana, you said it was a tough blow. Like, did you go straight to the CBA? You had to take some time.
Right, I went straight to Grand Rapids after I left them, which is the CBA. So it's just kind of like the G League. You have the G League.
Yeah,
draft.
I remember.
So I got drafted. I got drafted to the Grand Rapids, and they had my rights. So when I left Indiana, I went straight to the Rapids, Grand Rapids Mackers, which is the CBA in Michigan. So that's where I was at, and I was getting a lot of interest from Toronto at the time. Isaiah Thomas was huge on me, which was I got to give you this story.
Go ahead. Not all stories. Go ahead. Yeah.
Story. I met my idol. So after my senior year, I played. I went to pre-draft camp and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing with Indiana. I had a great rookie camp with Indiana, and we went to the Midwest Review first in Indiana. In Detroit. So at this time, Isaiah Thomas is coaching the rap. He's the coach, or the president, or the coach.
No, he was team president. He never coached them. Yeah.
Team president at the time. President at the time. That's what he was first.
Yeah.
Team president. So we're playing in Detroit, and I'm playing really well with Indiana this summer. So we were playing in Auburn Hills. So it's like a hockey rink, right? Mm-hmm. So the court was in the inside. Right. So I'm walking from one side after a game. I'm walking around this thing by myself, going to get something to drink or going to the van or something. And look who's walking this way. Isaiah Thomas. Right? Okay. So he's walking towards me, and I'm walking towards him. And what do you think he said?
Good. Did he know you? Good game, Cave? I don't know. What
he said my name.
Wow.
Bryan Caver, and shook my hand.
Mm.
Bro,
that made your
day, bro. If this was Twitter or Instagram, y'all would blew up. Yo, I'll never ever forget that. He knew my name, bro. My idol, bro. He knew my name.
Yeah, that had to make your whole basketball world, like your whole life.
That made my world right there. That the guy that I looked up to since he was on Indiana University. I pat my game after, wore his number, walked by me, grabbed my hand, shook my hand. Bryan Caver. Great game, man. So back to the CBA. He had a guy that would kind of scout games in Michigan for him, one of his partners would always say, "Man, Zeke loves you, man. Just keep working. You know, if an opportunity presents itself." So, you know, that's what the CBA was about. You know, just kind of, just like the G League back then. It's the G League now. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and they went on to draft Damon Stoudemire and stuff like that. Or
Yeah. They went on to draft him and things like. But you know, you live. So I got to play for them a year and a half, and then I played for the Fort Wayne Fury. I won 2 years before I went to Australia.
Okay, and how was the? So you talking about Australia? Like, so let me talk about beforehand. Were you like nervous about going to play in Australia or going overseas?
Well, yeah, it's different. Yeah, it was different because it's overseas. You know, that's
right.
at the bottom of the world. Yeah, like, you know, you're going to another country, and you know, you don't know what to expect, and you know, it's just kind of, you know, if basketball different there. You know,
Right.
it was just as competitive. I mean, it's the NBL is a great league, which is just as competitive as over here. And guys are just, you know, but the difference is over there you have two Americans, and if you lose, you out of there because they blame the Americans. So, you know, so it's a different dynamic.
So how long were you there for?
Yeah, a little different dynamic. I was there for a season. I played a full season with them. It's in Sydney during the time I got to meet Michael Johnson, because this was the year right before. I'm always somewhere before the Olympics, bro. Which is crazy. Before the two, so they were building up for the Olympics, and you know, the 2000 Olympics over here in Australia. So, but I got a chance there. I was in Sydney, and it was a really good experience. I learned a lot, you know, about business. I learned about taking care of yourself and being away from home and stuff like that. So it was definitely different.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how was the living experience over there for you?
It was, I mean, like Sydney was, I was fortunate to be in Sydney, which is kind of like New York
US.
City.
Yeah, okay.
It's like New York City, yeah. So, you know, it wasn't, only difference is driving on the wrong side of the road. Some nights I found myself almost running head on with people sometimes. Because they don't give you no driving test. They just give you keys to the car, and you're on the other side. The toughest thing was crossing the street. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to looking a certain way for cars to come over here, and they're coming from the opposite direction.
Okay. So after those seasons overseas, I guess you come back. Do you try to get back in the CBA, or are you done at that point playing?
No, at that time when I came back, you know, my daughter, she was my wife at the time. She was she was my fiance at the time. She was pregnant.
Okay.
With my daughter, and so at that time, because of the way basketball back then wasn't like now, where there's so many opportunities to play.
Right.
It was just too far and few between, too unstable. I needed to be, so I kind of just put a focus on, you know, making sure I had a gig, job.
Right.
So I'm taking care of this little girl that's coming into the world, and my son, and so my focus kind of went more so to being, you know, a dad.
Yeah.
And taking care of them. With that thought in my mind always was, I finished with basketball sometime, because you have to remember I was only 26 at the time.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't that old. So, but you know, I made a conscious decision to kind of, you know, just focus on making sure they were good. I don't regret it. I don't regret it. You know,
okay.
I don't regret that at all. I think that was the right thing to do.
Now you went for 4 years. So you had a degree from Seton Hall?
Yes.
Yeah. What was your degree in?
Psychology, criminal justice minor.
Okay, that's good. So, did you start coaching right then? Or did you do something else first before you got into coaching?
No. I really, I didn't, like, it was crazy because I took a moment to I got away from basketball altogether.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't do anything with basketball, like, not even. I might have played summer league one more time.
Okay.
But I didn't do much of anything. I just kind of you know, just focused on my kids at the time.
Okay, all right.
My family, and then, you know, then I started, you know, getting that little missing being around the game. Just not playing so much as being around the game. And then I got an opportunity to coach junior college basketball.
Okay.
At Mercer County.
Yeah, JUCO. Gotcha.
Okay.
So the coaching part, did you always think you might want to get into coaching? Was that something you had to, like, maybe I can coach? Or
well, I never, you know, I always prided myself on my basketball IQ and my acumen.
Okay.
Basketball acumen. So I always knew I wanted to do something with all the experiences that I learned, whether it was training kids or coaching or, just having, like, I like to have discussions
Okay.
with, the mindset of your
Right.
approach
Right.
to
Right.
athletics. I like that part. I like the Phil Jackson side. I like that
Right.
part.
Right. Right.
You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? The Mark Jackson. I like that. I like that part of it because I think that's the most important part for them, because they don't get to do the things that they don't play outside. So their approach has to be a little different,
Okay.
with this generation. So I always knew I wanted to do something and be around it because of what I known in my experience and how I could share with someone.
Got you. And I guess when you started, you knew you wouldn't be like, let's say, PJ. You would be different than he was, I guess, as far as the coach, or the
Well, I
opposite.
knew I would just be different because of my personality. One, I'm not a yeller. I
Gotcha.
can yell, but I'm not that,
Yeah.
And I'm more of a cerebral guy, so I don't expect you to be me. You get what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
I can see things that you can't see. But my biggest thing is I want you to get to the space where you begin to see things from your perspective that can help us. Not
Okay.
so much as why you didn't see that. Will I say that to you? Absolutely. But then I'll come back and say, this is why you didn't see it. Or what are you looking at? Tell me what you're looking at. Why you feel that way? Why you didn't see that? Why you didn't think he was open? So that kind of approach.
Pretty good way to
I can be
teach.
on you. I could be stern, everything. So, it's kind of like my upbringing. It was my mantra for the guys that I coach.
Right.
Nothing given, everything earned. So, if this is what you want, this is what you got to do to get that. And that's where we were when I coach.
Okay. So you coached. So you coached at JUCO for Mercer County, and
Yeah.
did you go from there to coaching at Trent High, assistant coach?
Yep. I went from there to coaching with Greg. Greg, we challenged the board on who could coach. We just kind of felt like, certain our younger players were given being done a disservice because, sometimes great coaches at Trenton Central High School throughout the history, but sometimes we always thought that you had to be a teacher to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that I want to. We weren't asking to teach science or teach chemistry. We're asking to coach basketball,
Right.
something that we're experienced in, and that we can do a service to these athletes by
Right.
setting a standard in the classroom, character-wise, and then athletically.
Okay.
Character-wise first, and then academics, and then athletically. So we challenged the Trenton Board of Education to their verbiage and what the requirements were for a coach, and we won. And I think Greg knew that we had to have a set of coaches who they just couldn't refute. We we grew up in this city. We walked the streets and in the halls that these kids walked, and we were best suited to do the job. So I think that was the mindset of Greg when he approached me with it, and going into that battle and that fight with the board, and that we were going to try to bring back that rich tradition at Trenton Central High School, and I think we did that.
Yeah. Well, it lets you get in the job at Conwell Egan, right? A
Mm-hmm.
couple,
Yep.
for a few seasons.
Following the season after that, yep. A few seasons after that, yep.
Yeah, a few
Yep.
seasons after that, and
Mm-hmm.
I know after a couple years there, they kind of moved on a different direction,
Mm-hmm.
and you were saying how I guess you had a plan that you wanted to that you were kind of getting them to improve every year and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So, mm-hmm.
go ahead. What was you about to say?
Yeah. So that's what. So over there was a little different.
Okay.
You got to remember, I was the first black coach in that Philadelphia Catholic League ever.
Okay.
I was the first
Wow, I
black
didn't know
coach.
that. Okay,
So yeah,
congratulations on
so
that.
that's it. So there you go. That's saying something right there.
Right.
So I think that after my first year, my initial year, we started to get some interest in, me setting. So my initial meeting with them is about what I'm about and what my plan was.
Hmm.
And this is not a quick fix
Right.
because one, you're playing in the Philadelphia Catholic League and you're a suburban school that's 30 miles from the city. So
Right.
you don't get the influx of inner city kids. That's why you
No.
couldn't compete at that level. So
Right.
we were able to reach across the pond. I was able to bring some Jersey kids over. Even my first year, I was able to bring some kids over to come, and we competed, and it began to set the stage for developing the middle school so that we have a feeder system,
Right.
getting those eighth graders over here and getting those kids to start buying in to come into Conwell Egan. And I think that after my first season, they had this ideology that I needed to hire this guy and that guy, and that's where we began to bump heads. Like, this is what you told me at the beginning, and this
Right.
is what I have to do after that. So I think they began to infringe on that because they wanted to hire who they wanted to hire, and that's not how it works. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, of course not.
before I kick my assistants to the curb,
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving too. So,
Yeah.
if you don't want my assistants who are black and white,
Right.
then I'm leaving with them. And I chose to stand with my assistants.
Hey man, if you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. You don't stand for
There you
something.
go.
So
There you go. So
so
I
I
chose to
agree.
stand.
So because you only had the 2 years and you were building the program and getting the eighth graders involved, do you feel like you were kind of shortchanged, like you were like unfinished business was there at the time?
I do, but also I always look at moments to like that. What's the good that can come from that? And I think that at that moment I began to take my my training a little bit more serious.
Okay.
Before COVID, I started my pro-am, summer league,
I
and
read
all that
about that.
stuff at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which gave me an opportunity to talk to collegiate players and begin to have those conversations with guys, men and women that were getting ready to go play pro. So it gave me an opportunity to expand my reach, and I took advantage of that. And sometimes things happen for a reason. At that time, my mother's health was declining at that time, so it gave me an opportunity to spend more time with her, and make sure that she was
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
before she transitioned. So that was, so things happen for a reason. And
Everything else for a reason. Yeah. God rest his
yeah,
soul.
yeah, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity. It gave me a chance to really look at what my goals are, and if I have uh, some type of formula, you put that formula to use for all age groups and demographics, and apply that to my training regimen as well. So that's what I did.
Okay. So, and then earlier you were talking about when you got to Trent High, like as far as like education being a big aspect too in that. So, and I was
Mhm.
reading about, how you were big on the importance of education being acknowledged as well as athletics for these kids and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, why don't you touch on that? Like, how
Mhm.
do you feel about education and being acknowledged as well? So,
Well, I think it's a unique balance, and what I do now, it kind of is a segue kind of for what I do within my training and my community work and things like that. I don't think that we give enough credence to the balance
okay.
of education and athletics. I think it's either you're really, really bright
Right.
or you're an athlete.
Right.
And
Okay.
I think that most of our athletes, our young athletes, are in the middle
Right.
where they're not superstars and they're not scholars, like
Right.
on the high academics side of academics. But I think that they could be they're solid students, they're solid athletes,
Hmm.
and that group in the middle gets forgotten,
All the time.
and
Hmm.
all the time they get forgotten. And what I do now when I'm talking to young kids and I'm speaking to teams and I'm speaking to coaches and I'm speaking to teachers and people who have that influence is be mindful of that balance of that kid in the middle. Because I was fortunate enough to be a really, really good athlete and a really, really good student. Um, Sometimes did I dumb it down? Absolutely. Because of persona or what I thought persona should be. But for the most part, I didn't hang with just athletes.
Yeah.
I went to study groups
Yeah.
and things like that because I knew the importance of that. And I attribute that to my parents and my brothers. And you get what I'm saying? I was fortunate enough to grow up in a projects, but I had both my parents. Grew up in a neighborhood that was kind of impoverished, but I had my father and my mother who made sure of that. So so in coaching, or just even in just being a mentor or being a reference for kids, when I talk to parents and I talk to people who have that kind of reach, please don't miss that kid in the middle. And I always resort back to, I had an opportunity to speak at PJ Hill. This was some years ago. I think my daughter was in 6th grade at the time. Mm-hmm. And I talked to the class. So I always go into a speaking engagement. I say, well, how many athletes I have in the classroom? So mm-hmm. maybe 3 or 4 kids open up. And what do you play? Basketball, football, nothing else. And how many A students in this class? 2 kids. 2 kids raise their hand. And I looked at the class, there's 26 kids in there. Mm. So I'm saying, what about, so I got 3 athletes, 2, that's 5 kids. What about these other 18 kids who are not bad, right? They're not bad.
Right.
They're not super honor roll students, and they're not athletes, but they're really good kids. Right. So my focus now is always that group, because it's such a larger group that we miss. Like, I don't forget about the athletes, and I'm going to always run it out. But what about when I work for Mercer County Special Services, which is, we deal with behavior kids with multiple disabilities, on the autism spectrum, behavioral issues, mental health issues. All right. So when you go into a regular school district, you either have 3 classes of kids. You have the really, really bright kids, right? Mm-hmm. That get attention. The athletes get attention, or the really, really bad kids who get attention, who get in trouble. They get attention. What about a kid like, I don't know, that just is a B student, CB student, never get in trouble, doesn't really like sports, and ain't that bright, but may like writing or something? What about that kid? How can we do nothing to acknowledge or enhance that kid? Think about that.
I agree. No, you're right. You never see that.
We never really see that. We never really see that. So I think we need to put more emphasis on those. Those are the kids that are they're on the fence. Yeah. Am I going to do something?
And you know what, Cave? The funny thing is that if we acknowledge that kid, he may go from a B student to an A student by getting the acknowledgement. Right. You know what I mean? He might feel like I could do so much better or something like that. So,
or I may find something that kid likes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's about special talent, special writing, like you said, writing or
let's
mathematician or something like that. Yeah.
Or he may be able to build stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just where I am with that importance of education. And it's not so much as being super, super bright. Continue to be consistent, but let's really find out what their niche is, because I got an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to talk to some gentlemen about, my basketball prowess and things like that. And I said something to them that changed their whole mindset. I said, the reality of basketball is, and not just in COVID, you guys are going into your senior year. This is possibly the last time you will play competitive athletics.
Yeah.
Or school.
Yeah.
Like, it could be done. Like, you may not play in college.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? You may not play in pro.
Yeah.
This could literally be the last. How old are you? And they're like, I'm 17.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? Somebody at 17 telling you something that you love, you're not going to play that no more. Not as a competitor. You can play rec leagues and stuff.
Right.
And pick up. But you will not play for a school, or you will not play for a professional team. That's a lot. If no one's saying that to you and giving you that reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it opened their eyes, and they went home and they created a podcast to talk. And they was, then they asked me, so I'm going to start this thing called Beyond the Game, where I'm going to have conversations with high school athletes about your plan B.
That's dope.
My wife has this formula called a plan B, because I don't think no one's telling you the truth about this thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, if you look at you, right, I read you said that you love basketball, but nobody knew that you love science too, right?
Exactly.
And if you look at your life, when you were done overseas, you had a degree to fall back on, and you were able to, still do regular jobs and stuff like that. So
right. But even if you don't have a degree, like, what if I could build? I like working with my hands.
That's true too. Yeah.
But if no one ever takes notice of that, It can never be cultivated. I was fortunate. Like you said, I got a college education. I was fortunate. And my network is phenomenal through athletics. I've met so many people.
Right.
And I've never burned any bridges. And people didn't mind helping me. But I think that most kids don't have that reach.
Right.
And no one's ever taken the time to see we're always telling kids what they need to do.
Yeah. That's true.
You need to get straight A's. You need to go to college. Everybody's not built for school. Everybody's not built for school.
I agree with that as well.
You get what I'm saying? Everybody, that's not their track. You know, some people are good with their hands. Some people are great communicators. You get what I'm saying? So I think we have to I want parents to do, and this is the parents and the kids thing, or mentors or whatever. You got to find someone that's going to reach deep and take a look at what you're good at early. And expose you to different things. Like no one, like you said, no one would know that I love science. They would, like, I watched, one of my favorite shows?
What's that?
Life Below Zero.
Okay.
Subsistence living. I love that because of the science in that.
Right.
Living below temperatures and understanding nature. I love watching. I'm an information seeker.
Right.
You're similar to me in that.
Of course,
I love information. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I love information. Like,
I love it, bro.
I want to know what's beyond. Like, why is it that way? I love information. So
that's so me. Yeah.
If you don't know me, you wouldn't know that. Like, you know what I mean? So how many of these kids we're not really getting to know?
Yeah. Well, so like you said, back to you, like how many people when you were putting up all those numbers in high school and college knew that, Bryan Caver liked science? They probably the last thing they would have thought in their mind or whatever like that.
Right. Bro, I was so pissed that I was struggling in physics in high school that I went every Saturday morning to the convent to meet with Sister Barbara to help me with physics.
Wow.
My senior year, because I was so pissed that I couldn't get it at first. Like, I just couldn't get it. Like, it was just driving me nuts. I kept failing tests because of formulas, and she just slowed me down. She said, "You love science. Relax."
Gotcha. Yeah.
And just absorb the information and take your time. Yeah, you know what I mean? So this is what I mean by that, man.
Yeah. So I'm assuming when you were coaching, you didn't let kids slide on the educational part or whatever.
At all. That was all. And character. And character. Right. Character is a big thing when it comes to education. Okay. If you're going to be disruptive, there's no way you're going to be good academically.
Okay.
If you're not going to pay attention, if you're going to come late, there's no way you're going to be solid. And see, and I don't need you to be phenomenal. I just need you not to be the problem in the classroom.
Got you.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I need you to be consistent, on time, and solid. That's it. I don't need you to be straight up.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. You got to hold them accountable.
If you're not the problem, if you're not the problem in the classroom, a teacher is willing to help you. If, say you get a C,
right,
and you're on the fringe of a 78 and an 81,
right,
and you haven't been a problem, you've been on time, you turned in your, that's now a teacher is apt to say, here's an extra assignment to pull you from that C because you deserve a B in this class.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's you working for that part. And I'm not telling you to be a student or be a student, but I'm saying if you're consistent enough, you could be in that class.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's shift back to basketball for a second.
Okay.
Since you got it behind you, what exactly? Tell us all about your hoop skills program, so I can plug that for you. And what do you try to help the kids with that and stuff?
So hoop skills is I started this. It kind of developed during my pro-am experience and through my training. So I just kind of wanted to create a platform where I could bring the basketball camp and training experience into the urban areas for free. That was my premise behind it because a lot of kids can't afford to go to camp. You know what a rider camp will cost.
I know.
A 5-star camp, what that costs. $400 a week, $475, $575. Parents don't have that.
Right.
You know how much it costs that these guys are training. So what I do is in the spring and summer months where I don't have to utilize gyms or have to rent gym space and things like that. I go to local neighborhood parks. I call it pop-up clinics. I give them a free day of, basketball, get an opportunity to speak to them and pour in. But I bring that camp clinic experience to them. I give T-shirts. And, we get up on a Saturday morning at 9. I work them really, really hard on their fundamental skills. I do it for all levels, from 7-year-old all the way until high school and first-year college guys. So I do it for different age groups throughout the city. Because of the climate of the city, I know that certain kids won't go to certain neighborhoods. So I try to utilize courts in every part of the city at different dates.
Yeah.
I always have a police present, which is so the parent feels safe. But I also, those guys that I coach and females that I coach, they're police officers now, so they come out and help. And if they're on duty, they swing by, they sit out. A lot of them donate their time. They donate pizza to them so that they can have lunch. We have bag lunches. I get them Gatorade.
Man, so that's wonderful.
I solicit funds for them. Yeah. So I feed them. I'll send you one of the videos that I have so that you can see it and kind of see what we do and what we've done. And, COVID kind of put a monkey wrench in it last year, but we're definitely going to get back to that this spring. The kids love it. They enjoy it. Boys and girls are come out. Yeah. I have all my former players come. Right now, I'm trying to solicit one of these shoe companies to come in on the grassroots level and kind of back it so that I can have those free giveaways for them. So, prayerfully that'll happen. I believe it'll happen. I've had a lot of support locally. My friends, people donate. No donation's too small, none's too big. $5, $10 here. Enough people do that. I get enough to give them lunch, give them Gatorade, give them free T-shirts. I let them play games at the end. So, it's not, so they really enjoy it, man. And they're beat by the end of the day, and the parents love it. So
that's good. Yeah, man. When it comes back, I'll definitely donate, man. I like that because
no, I appreciate it.
Because when you and I came up in the 80s and 90s, they ain't have nothing like that, especially for like free.
They had nothing like this, right? No. And I don't want it, and that's what it is. I want that to be free for them so that they don't have to feel leery about it. It's always a cost for something. Why can't you just say, I want my son to be or daughter to be involved? I can send them. They're going to be safe. They're going to have fun. I can come pick them up, and I know they're good. So that's really that's the premise behind starting the hoop skills piece, man. And there's also a profit side with my pro-ams and my league stuff and things like that, and my higher end training. But a lot of my training the younger kids, I do large groups or small groups so that I can get, they could just pay, maybe $5 for registration and just get that same tutelage that they would get individually.
Okay.
And, and gain the same results. So I want to make it affordable for people, man. That's what I do.
Yeah. So I was reading you also, I guess, kind of use that to start the Hoops International Exchange.
I did that. Yeah. So I'm gonna go through that a little bit. I was when I was doing my pro-am stuff, I was at this place called the WAC. I don't know if you know the Windsor Athletic Club.
Yeah, I know WAC. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm back.
All right.
You got me?
I got you.
And a good friend of mine, Martin Whitfield, we kind of, the owner of the Windsor Athletic Club is from China. And he wanted to create an opportunity to bring the players from China over here, the younger players over here, to see how we train and, how we compete and get better over here. But the exchange part happened before, right, when COVID was. So they come here 1 year, they train over here with us, experience the Americanized stuff, and then we go to China, and then they get to show us their culture and their experience. So that was the thing that we started. We're definitely gonna get back to it so that we can take some younger players from over here and get to experience their culture.
Okay, got you on that. So you mentioned COVID a couple times, how things had to stop. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
All right. How things had to stop because of COVID. So how do you think that's affecting these players developing with COVID and not being able to play as much? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's horrible. I think I felt so bad for the seniors last year at every level. For players and students at every level, I feel horrible that they have to be going through this year. I just think that things are so different academically, athletically. I just think there's no fans. I think that they're dealing with a lot. Not being able to have a true preseason, not being able to train and get into facilities during their off time. So I just think, all around, it's just been a tough road for these athletes and students alike this past year and a half, man. It's just been really, really crazy.
Yeah. So would you suggest, like, I guess, trying to hone other skills, maybe going out and shooting on your own and stuff like that? Like, what would you do if you were?
Yeah, I think, I would encourage that. But again, if weather doesn't permit, where do you
Right.
go? They're not
Right.
allowing you into the gyms.
Yeah.
So where do you go? Yeah,
Yeah,
where
that's
do you
true
go?
too. All right. Well,
Yeah.
almost done here, Cave. So let me ask you a question. Since you did play, different time, what do you think the biggest difference is in today's game versus when you were coming up playing stuff like that?
It's a couple of different, like, with like, I don't want to sound like I want to still get credit to today's game. I think I call it a positionless era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's no true positions. Not saying that they don't have true skill set, but I don't think there's any true position. There's no true one or no true two. I think guys play multiple positions now versus back then where it was more skill specific, if I could say that.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you had true seniors, guys that only played in the pivot. You get
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right.
Like,
Right.
you don't have what they call stretch fours and stretch fives, and
Right.
everybody shoots the three now.
Right.
There was a time when bigs didn't really shoot the three. So I think both eras have their own prudence and respect level, but I used to always say that one era was better than the other, and we always talk about that, but we just have to respect the evolution of the game and the skill set of some of these guys. I have to respect that these guys are more athletic. I think that these guys have less IQ stuff, and they're less fundamentally sound. I think they're more targeted skill set, if I could say. Just certain athletic guys. You just have athletic guys. You just have shooters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
Not balanced players.
yeah. When I see like the best players in the league, LeBron, Luka, Giannis, shooting 70% below from the free throw line, I'm like, yo, how are y'all not working on your free throw? Like, it's just a lot.
I don't get that. Yeah, right. I don't get that. Like that. How is that not? How are you so impactful and at the top of the league, and you're so bad in that area? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. And I like, so how do you travel so much and be so skilled at the same time? I don't get it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's a weird phenomenon to me.
Yeah, or even a guy like Ben Simmons, like that he has no moves and can't, like, it's just so weird to me.
It's just really weird how you don't have that in your repertoire. Or you look at a guy like you look at this era of strength, conditioning, and agility, but you have horrific injuries. I'm talking horrific injuries.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
never really saw a guy blow his kneecap out like they're doing now. Like, like your leg femur pops out of your. I get that they're jumping higher and all that. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, what's interesting though is that I don't know if you've seen KG, his recent quote, right? And he played in your era. So, but he was saying that guys from 2012, 25 years ago couldn't play in today's game because these guys are too fast and they play a different game and they stretch the floor. What do you think about that when he says that?
I think he has some validity to that, but I also think that era, then the skill set change. So,
Right.
I from the 80s wouldn't play that way if he was here now.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I think the guys back then played that way because that's how they played. Now you have certain guys who can transcend eras because of their physicality, like a LeBron. LeBron could play in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s to now. He could play in anything, any era. Kobe could play at any era.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I'm saying?
agree. I definitely agree. I always say I don't think LeBron will be as dominant as he is right now because there were other guys who.
No, this is what I'm saying. Like I'm definitely not saying that. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not saying that
Yeah, he
because
can
he
play
gonna get
though.
away with half of that.
Yeah.
No, because a guy like Pippen is gonna pick him up and make him have to dribble that ball.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? He's going to struggle with guys like that because of how they're going to play him.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman, the way he would play him, he
And
would
when he got to
struggle
the hole,
against
it'd be 3 guys down there waiting for him back then. Where
Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason and those guys.
Yeah.
Xavier McDaniels, those guys, Rick Mahorn, those guys were going to be physical with that guy. So a lot of things that they escaped. But again, the era has changed. And I think we just have to respect this is just their era.
I do. I respect it too, but I do think that guys like Isaiah Thomas, whoever, Jordan, whoever you want to say, I think if you put them in this era and let them practice shooting threes like these guys do, they'll be just as good.
They dominate.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think they would too.
They'll be just as good. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine Zeke?
And like I said, like when it comes.
Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
I was like, can you imagine Zeke being able to go to the hole, but nobody's there because everybody's spreading the floor?
Right. He can just get layup after layup. Right.
Yeah, he would dominate. He would definitely dominate. And speaking of that, that's my next segue. So since you play point guard, I can't let you go without giving me your top 5 point guards all time. Who would you say?
Oh my God. All time?
All time, bro.
Jeez, oh man. I'm going to say Magic Johnson.
Okay.
Isaiah Thomas.
All right.
John Stockton.
Okay.
Oh. Wow. That's a tough one. Man.
Kid, Steve Nash.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, CP3. Who do you like point guard wise? Like, you know what I mean?
I love Jason Kidd because he's my era. I love Jason Kidd. Yeah. Man, there's so many I'm leaving out. Like, it's just not fair.
Yeah. Who? Let me ask you this: what you thinking of that? Who will you think was the most underrated? Like they get a lot of recognition for their skills at point guard or playing or whatever. So.
Underrated?
Yeah.
Guy like Maurice Cheeks.
Oh yeah.
Maurice Cheeks is
he never gets put up there. Yeah.
He never gets put up there. I've always liked Gary Payton too.
Oh yeah, GP. Yeah, defensively.
I've always loved
because they're all about the same size too. You know, GP.
Yeah. I've always loved Gary Payton too. Like, but you know the crazy part is, man, I love watching all those guys though, man. I love watching Penny Hardaway. I love watching him play.
Yeah, Penny. Yeah.
I think his career was cut short because of his injury. His career was. Kenny Anderson was crazy. Oh man. Yeah. Oh man, it's just Derek Harper.
Yeah, Rod Strickland was pretty good.
Rod Strickland was just like, man, those guys are just great in their own vein, man. Like,
yeah. Okay.
It's just
Mark Jackson. Forget about him. Or whatever.
Mark Jackson. Like, see what I'm saying? Like, it's just hard to It's hard to put a number on certain guys. Yeah, on a 5. It's just because those guys were all good in their rights. They play like. CP3 is up there now. Like, he's right there. Yeah. Like, he's right with them.
Top 3, you'll say Magic, Isaiah Stockton. Those are top 3.
I would say that. I could do that.
Got you.
Without going too far back in like the 70s. Like, I can't put like guys like, Walt Frazier and them with them. As good as those guys were, Hall of Famers they are. I can't put them with, maybe Nate Archibald, maybe.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get you in this whole GOAT debate, but I will ask you for your top 5 players all time, if you got that, or 3, whatever you can give me. So,
okay, I would say Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Oh man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Okay. Let me tell you something about me. I personally
God.
still got Magic above Bron at the moment, me personally, but that's just me first. So.
That's what I'm saying. I might have to put Magic before Kobe.
Okay.
And this is gonna sting a little bit, but I'm gonna put him in there. Duncan.
Okay, all right. That's hey, Duncan the best power. Duncan was so fundamentally sound.
This is what I'm saying.
Ridiculous.
Like, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. I think he don't get a lot of credit as much because he was so quiet, honestly. But he was so good. It's ridiculous. It's just like that. So
yeah, like I can't say Oscar Robertson because I never really saw him.
yeah, that's 5. You gave me 5. You good? Like
Yeah. That's just I gotta put Duncan in there, man. Like I can't take nothing from that dude. He dominated his era.
and college, Wake Forest, he dominated there too.
He dominated. I'm talking about and this is with Shaq and all of them. He dominated, bro.
Yeah. And did it quietly. He was so good. Whatever.
Yeah. He dominated.
Yeah. All right. So
that's my fault.
Okay, and last but not least, this season, what's your thoughts on the season? Who you picking for the finals to win the finals or go to the finals in the East and West? Also.
Well, as far as this season, man, I'm really, really happy with the parity and the competitiveness. One, I'm glad they were able to get it back underway, which was awesome, considering the climate with COVID. I'm glad that Silver and the collectives were able to kind of put together a plan and make it happen. That's crazy. But then also, I'm proud of the players and how they're competing and trying to be vigilant with it and staying safe, but still being competitive and trying to win. Who do I like? I gotta give you. I like out of the East. I'm not sold on the Sixers, and I'm not quite sold on Milwaukee. I will give the nod right now to Brooklyn.
Okay.
Or Boston. To Brooklyn or Boston. Yeah. Both healthy. Both playing at a high level. One of the two. And out West, I can't count LeBron out. But I think an unhealthy Lakers won't give me anything. Anthony Davis is see, and while I'm talking, if you give me a few just to talk.
Nah, go ahead, bro. Talk.
This is what I don't think people realize, and this is no knock on Anthony Davis. Let's look at last year and how the Lakers won their title.
Right.
They played a season. They got a 4-month break, 3 or 4 month break.
Four. Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Which is rest, and then they were able to come back and be chosen the top 20 teams. They didn't play into the playoffs. They were chosen based on where your record was. After a 4-month rest, played 6 weeks, and then the finals in the playoffs. But it was a chosen group to go to the bubble.
Right.
It wasn't really like a playing group to go to the bubble.
Correct.
So
I'm happy you said that because some people, I was trying to say, like, especially for guys like AD who's always hurt LeBron.
They don't understand that.
4 or 5 months off is a huge in basketball. Like you as a player, why don't you speak to that? How good that is for you?
Huge gives you an opportunity to be.
Yeah.
Right. That's incredible to you in the midst of, and then going into arena with advantage. That matters. When you play on one court, they played on 3 courts their entire time. They didn't go to different arenas to have to play. So those are factors that are key when you're talking about a championship run. Now, fast forward to this season. Now you get to see him having to deal with the full season. And here comes the injuries.
Yeah.
How will he fare after being away from playing for 3 to 4 weeks? And that's just what they're saying to start with. That's an Achilles.
Yeah.
Well, he had the same mindset as KD, coming back too soon and blowing it out.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Kate? You mentioned Tim Duncan. It's funny. After the Lakers won a championship, they were starting to say, how high is AD on the power forward list? And can he catch Duncan? I was like, hell no, he can't catch Duncan or whatever. I was like,
he can't. No way he can. But this is what I'm saying. So I'm not sold on the Lakers because after LeBron and AD, they average city to me. Those players are average. Could be better.
Yeah.
Could be better. True.
Yeah.
They could be elite. They could be elite, but listen. The LeBron syndrome is where guys stand around because he needs driving lanes, and everything flows through him.
I'm a Laker fan. I want to preface that first, but I will say I agree with you because I think AD getting that this year. AD is starting to stand around too much and letting LeBron go do what he do and stuff like that.
And it just happens due to that's just who LeBron is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't think he means to do it, but he's ball dominant.
He's very ball dominant.
In certain instances in the game, he's ball dominant.
Yeah.
I think the Lakers are good because of LeBron, but really because of AD.
Yeah, yeah.
And his production too.
It's funny, Cave.
LeBron's facilitation, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people say LeBron never had, let's say, the Hall of Fame coach, but I don't think LeBron could have played in Pop system or like.
I don't think so either.
Me either, right? Yeah, I don't think so.
But that's why he's never had a coach like that. He's always had a coach where his voice is the most dominant in the huddle.
Right. I agree. Yeah, because Pop moved the ball. Everybody's like, it's not a ball dominant system and stuff like that.
He would never allow you to just pat that ball. He would never allow it. And he had Hall of Famers on his team.
Yeah.
But that ball would pop around. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's what was difficult for Kawhi.
Yeah.
Because you want to dribble. People don't notice that, but that's what was difficult for him. It wasn't the fact that he couldn't get his, but Pop wanted that ball to move around.
Yeah.
And then when you get it back, then you go. But I'm not going to let you pat, jack up the three, pat. I watched, what game was I watching last night? It was 6-3. I said, yo, you got to be kidding me. Dribble, three. Pass, three. Dribble, three. Dribble, three. Dribble, three. I was like, God. The lane is wide open.
Wide open. That's why I say, man, like, it's funny because I was talking to my boy yesterday. I said, listen, Michael Jordan would dominate so much in his air, it's ridiculous. Because
Right. The lane is wide open.
And that guy was going to the hole back then against the Pistons or whatever, Michael Jordan. Can you imagine right now?
Open.
Oh, my.
It's wide open.
Oh, my God. Who can stay in front of Mike? Nobody. But imagine him going down there with nobody there. Oh, my God. It would have been ridiculous.
Think about this. Imagine having Iverson playing in this era. Right
him
now.
too? Oh, my God.
Look where his numbers would go to.
Yeah, he would take a lot of bumps from centers down there and stuff like that.
And he was hurt a lot. Because of the physical play.
Yeah, I agree. It's a whole different game right now, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So you like the Nets and you like you're not counting out LeBron and the Lakers. So those are your picks.
The Lakers, I never can count him out because of who he is. But I think that West Coast, the underrated team to me is Denver.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's Denver. That team is really good. You get what I'm saying?
Who's your favorite player to watch right now?
Oh, man. My favorite player to watch right now? Wow, that's a pretty good one. I got a couple.
Okay.
Tatum is must watch TV for me.
Yes, yeah, I like Tatum. Yeah.
I like Tatum. KD is must watch TV for me.
Oh yeah, he's so skilled.
And him and Kyrie, they must watch TV for me. Out west, I still love watching Damian Lillard play.
Yeah, Dame time. Yeah.
Dame time. I still like watching him play. Man. I don't know, man.
That's good. You gave me 4. That's what's up.
That's pretty good.
That's 1-1. That's good.
They must watch. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Cave, we got through it, man. Our first interview, man.
No, it was awesome, man. I enjoyed it, man. You made me think of some stuff I hadn't thought about in years, man.
Yeah. I want to make sure I did my homework and stuff like that.
I saw that, man. You was versed. You almost caught me off guard. Wait a minute.
Yeah, man. But yeah, definitely want to bring you back on the full panel when we talk about
Anytime,
the show.
man. You know that.
Yeah, I'll
Anytime.
definitely hit you up and let you know. Want to bring you on to school some of my other panel about basketball and stuff like that. So that'd
Oh
be
yeah,
great.
yeah. You know, I'll challenge him in the most respectful OG way I can.
Appreciate it, man. So anything else you want to talk about? Anything you got going on new or plans you
My
got?
Detroit Pistons is playing well, man, right now, man. They play hard.
I like Jeremy Grant, yo. I really do.
Jeremy Grant, man, I love that kid, man. He's playing
Yeah.
well, man. He's the Bay kid coming off the bench. I think we're a couple pieces away.
He's starting now, so
compete.
I think
Yeah, he's starting now.
yeah, he good, man.
I really like what the coach is doing with them. They're definitely taking on his persona, and that's what he had out in Toronto. He's brought that to us. They're taking on,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
All right,
KC
man.
definitely. Yep.
Well, that's my first one-on-one interview with Mr. Bryan Caver. We appreciate you guys watching it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you coming on.
Man, ask some questions, something that they want to hear about, man. That's what we're here for.
For sure, man. And if you got any other follow-up questions, let us know. But for the Big Mike and LittleAnt channel, I'm Big Mike, and we'll see you next time.
See you later, man. Thanks for having me, Mike.